Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from and who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. Now I'm entitled this one, The Lord's Words Don't Go Out Void. Going into how our people, mainly the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of, majority of our people, they deny the prophecies. They deny that Yahweh, which is the real name of the Heavenly Father, who everybody ignorantly calls God, and his only begotten Son, who everybody ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which his real name is Yahushai. They deny the names, the true names, in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. They deny that ultimately Yahushai is coming back to destroy. He's not coming back to, give out hugs and lollipops. They deny that there's going to be a Jacob's trouble. But ultimately, what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has spoken through his mouthpiece, the prophets, is going to come to pass, because it don't matter if these Jakes, these 2/3 Jakes, don't believe, because you got even heathens, so-called white people, so-called these other nations that believe that the Bible is real, but yet our own people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true people that the Bible speaks of, they don't believe these things. Ultimately, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai didn't put it upon their spirit to believe. He only put it on the remnant, which is the 1/3, which is prophesied to be delivered out of the upcoming plagues, the upcoming calamities, the sword, the pestilences, while the rest of our people, they're going to die in their unbelief. This is Isaiah 55 and verse 11. So shall my word be that go out forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So all these different Jakes that love to scoff and mock and talk shit, saying that the prophecies aren't going to come to pass, they're going to have a rude awakening. Ultimately, they're going to have to learn, after being put to death and being brought back through the loins of the elect. Then they're going to realize, damn, what the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai had been saying all that time was true. And even some of them are going to wake up, last minute to the fact that, oh shit, they were right. But it's going to be too late for them to repent, because at that time and period, the doors of mercy have been shut. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So all these Jakes that, keep putting off the day of the Lord, saying that it's not going to come in our generation. And Jake loves to push that, my grandpa been saying that. My great-great-grandfather's been saying that, and it hasn't came to pass. But the prophecies are speaking loud and clear. The MOTB, the Revelation 13 and verse 16, Ezekiel 38, World War III. But yet our people just, remain to willfully be ignorant, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai didn't put it upon their spirit to see with their spiritual eyes and their spiritual ears to hear to what's going on, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has left them in complete darkness. But even if these Jakes deny it, day in and day out, keep denying the prophecies, that don't mean it's not going to come to pass. It don't mean just because you don't believe, okay, if I don't believe, then it's not going to come to pass. If I close my ears and put my hands on my ears and close my eyes, then it's not going to come to pass. That's what these Jakes have in their spirit. If they deny it, then it's not going to come to pass. But ultimately, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's will is going to be done upon the planet Earth, regardless if these Jakes believe it or not. This is Ezekiel chapter 12 and verse 21. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, verse 22, Son of man, what is that proverb that ye have in the land of Israel, saying, the days are prolonged and every vision faileth? And that's what Jake loves to say. They're like, nah, y'all been speaking about that the MOTB is the micro CHIP, starting with our apostles, their elders on down to the younger brothers. They like, oh, y'all been saying that for decades, for years, and it hasn't came to pass. But 5 years ago, all these scoffers and mockers got quieted. They thought that, that was the end of the world, so-called world. That it was it. But ultimately, that was an awakening for our people and the rest of the world. And now that came and went, the C-demic, the C-19, the jump shot, now our people are back to being asleep. They're like, okay, that wasn't it. Things are going to continue as they were. But shit hasn't been normal since 2020. Time been speeding up. The prophecies are speaking more loud and clear than ever. So very soon, Yahweh Shemel Shai is about to do away with all the unbelievers of our people. Verse 23, tell them, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, I will make this proverb to cease, and they shall no more use it as a proverb in Israel, but say unto them, the days are at hand, and the effect of every vision. So all these proverbs, y'all false prophets, y'all bums, y'all grapists, y'all ain't the true man of the Lord. That's not going to come to pass. I'm going to go back to making this money. I'm going to go back to pleasing my wife, happy life. I'm going to go work my 9 to 5, because all the prophecies that y'all speaking of, they're never going to come to pass. This is what Jake is saying. But Yahweh Shemel Shai is putting a stop to that. He's making the prophecies literally pop out the pages. He's making the martial law pop out the pages, Jacob's trouble, the implementation of the MOTB. But yet our people still like, nah, that's not going to come to pass. But Yahweh Shemel Shai is done with the proverbs of Jake saying that all these prophecies aren't going to come to pass. Verse 24, for there shall be no more any vain vision nor flattering divination within the house of Israel. So all these Christian churches and these false prophet Israelite camps that are teaching the complete opposite of what Yahweh Shemel Shai told us to warn our people about the incoming doom, that's being done away with too. All these Christian churches don't have any answers to what's going on. These Israelite camps that are teaching false doctrine, their congregation is starting to wake up to what they're saying doesn't match up with what's going on in the world. So it's like, okay, Yahweh Shemel Shai is doing away with all these witches and warlocks. Verse 25, for I am the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai. I will speak, and the word that I shall speak shall come to pass. It shall be no more prolonged. For in your days, O rebellious house, I will say the word and will perform it, said the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai. So we're in those days. We're in the last days of the last days, where the Lord is making these prophecies to come to pass, regardless if Jake believes it in or not. It don't matter if they're unbelievers. That don't mean that the prophecies aren't going to come to pass. It don't matter how much Jake denies it. Verse 26, again the word of the Lord came to me, saying, verse 27, Son of man, behold, they of the house of Israel say, the vision that he seeth is for many days to come. And he prophesied of the days that are far off. And that's what Jake loves to say. Like, okay, maybe those prophecies that y'all speaking about, the MOTB, Jacob's trouble, World War III, even the nuclear destruction of America. You're like, okay, maybe it is going to come to pass, but not in my lifetime. Maybe it'll come to pass 1,500 years from now, pushing off the judgment to their great-great-grandchildren. But no, ultimately, like Yahweh Shai said, all these things are going to come to pass in this adulterous generation. This is how you know that this is it. This is the last generation. This is it. Yahweh Shemel Shai is done, waiting on Jake to get right. Because if we was to wait on the whole nation of Israel to get right, we would be here forever. Ultimately, Yahweh Shemel Shai is just sealing the elect, and that's it. When the last member of the elect gets sealed, then that's when the famine of the word comes, and Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to let the judgment speak for itself. Verse 28, therefore say unto them, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, there shall none of my words be prolonged anymore, but the word which I have spoken shall be done, said the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. So the Lord is almost done speaking through his mouthpiece, the prophets. Very soon, the Lord is done speaking. He's gonna be done showing mercy through the grace period. With the spiritual ark still being open. The doors still being open. But very soon, that's it. The famine of the word is gonna come. The spiritual ark, the doors will be closed. The grace period will be open, and the only thing is gonna be speaking is the judgments of Yahweh Bashim Shai that he's been speaking through his mouthpiece, the prophets. This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 3. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? Verse 4, Most High forbid, yeah. Let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou might be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. So what if some did not believe? What if the 2/3 didn't believe? Does that mean that the prophecies aren't going to come to pass? Does that mean that Yahweh Bashim Shai has been speaking lies through his mouthpiece, the prophets? No. Ultimately, if these jakes don't believe, it's not going to make the prophecies stopping from coming to pass. Very soon, all these mockers and scoffers and naysayers, they're going to completely have their mouths shut. There's not going to be anything left for them to say. They're going to be in awe. They're going to be like, oh, shit, they were right and we were wrong. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Verse 3, fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. So all these prophecies, they're faithful and true. Just because these jakes, the incredulity, which means unbelief, that don't mean that, it's not going to come to pass. Like, damn, maybe those 2/3 jakes, that are saying that America's going to continue on forever is true. But nah, that's bullshit. Because ultimately, like I said, man's a liar. These false prophets, because they weren't sent by Yahweh Bashim Shai, they're speaking out of their own ass. They're speaking out of their own mind. They love to, I'm going to speak out of my heart, out of my opinions. No, Yahweh Bashim Shai told us to speak the words of the scriptures and to warn our people, not to telling them that everything's going to be okay, that there's not going to be any Jacob's trouble, that the MOTB is never going to come to pass, that America's going to be healed. That's what these jakes want to hear. But when we tell them, about the incoming doom, they're like, oh, shit, nah, I don't want to hear that. That sounds too scary. I don't want to hear about revelations, that the nuclear destruction. Nah, they want to hear prosperity doctrine. Verse 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. And that's the point, All these jakes that don't believe, just because they don't believe doesn't mean it's not going to pass. Ultimately, Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to have to put them to death, and they're going to have to learn through death. They're going to have to learn through pain after death. After they either get put to death during Jacob's trouble, martial law, the mass implementation of the MOTB, or they're reserved for those missiles. That's how they're going to learn, what the will of Yahweh Bashim Shai was. After it's too late, after they get put to death, the 2/3 are going to be in the kingdom, but they're going to have their heads down for a very long time for all the scoffing, all the mocking, all the shit talking that they did to the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Shai. So just because they don't believe, it don't mean all these prophecies aren't gonna come to pass. Ultimately, the Lord is gonna have to put them to death. But that's pretty much the point. Praises is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Shai, Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from and who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Until I say shalom.